Now, I'm not Pitbull, but you can call me Mr. Worldwide, and I've spent my days watching an Egyptian in the Bundesliga, and boy, did this guy blow my mind. This guy scored three free kicks, in 3 consecutive games, and it's looking like he's one off, if not the hottest prospect in Europe right now, and potentially the new Egyptian king. Now, we know the market for strikers, especially in Europe at the moment, is genuinely quite hit or miss. You've got the likes of Isak, Watkins, Gyökeres, who are the ones that we often see linked with moves to bigger clubs. And they're more the traditional strikers that we're used to seeing in the media. Omar Marmoush, in my opinion, should be linked to every, and I mean every, Premier League club, and that includes the likes of Liverpool and Manchester City, and I'm going to explain to you in this video why. But before we actually get into it, we need to understand Frankfurt's system and how Omar Marmoush fits into this system. How has the manager, Dino Topmöller, managed to get them playing so well and getting the absolute best out of this striker? Now, Frankfurt actually currently sit second in the Bundesliga right now. They're sat on 23 points from 11 games as of the time of recording this, with only Bayern Munich higher, and in fact they're currently averaging slightly over 2 points a match, which is the 10th best in Europe at the moment, and they also sit 7th in Europe for outperforming their XG because they're being so clinical. And in fact, in Germany, only Bayern Munich have scored more goals than they have. Thank you, Harry Kane, for that. But this is primarily down to the work of Omar Marmoush and how Frankfurt have managed to construct their attack so well, directing their quick counter-attacking play and finishing their movements off. And it's just been really enjoyable to watch. Now, Frankfurt, if we look at the tactics screen here, they line up in a 4-4-2 shape. This is the lineup from their recent league win against Werder Bremen as well. They won 1-0 in that game. This is the lineup that they went with. We do see a few variations. Different players end up playing on different positions. Sometimes Nauf plays on the right. Brown can play slightly higher in the left mid position. And actually sometimes we'll see Tiata, the left centre-back, playing as a left-back, which is quite unconventional in a way, because at Rennes he was a very good centre-back, and for most parts of last season Frankfurt played in a back 3 system, so I thought Tiata was going to come in as a left-footed centre-back in a back 3, but they've actually used him as both a left-back and a left centre-back, and he's actually been really good. He's a very dynamic player that I didn't expect to see them get the best out of, but he's impressed me. Off the ball, they line up in a 4-4-2, as I just mentioned. Going forward, they often try and congest the middle of the pitch, and they'll try and use their counter-attacking pace with their wingers and their fullbacks to hit opposition on quick transitions, try and find Marmoush or Ekitike in some space. They can often have some good combinations, and then they'll try and attack from there. But the main thing for Frankfurt is they don't control the ball that much. Their possession's pretty low compared to what you'd expect from a team sitting second in the Bundesliga, so it's actually what they do off the ball that is so essential, and how their pressing has won them so many opportunities high up the pitch, which they have managed to score from. And we're going to take a look at that. Let's say the opposition have a 4-2 base, so we'll give them a goalkeeper, a right back, centre back, and a left back, and then 2 midfielders. Like so. Say this is how the opposition are lined up. Now, it could be a 4-2-3-1, it could be a 4-4-2, could be a 4-2-4. It doesn't really matter what the opposition are playing. If they're playing a back 4, we see very traditional pressing triggers from Frankfurt. So you've got the front 2 who can press the 2 centre-backs. They can curve their runs to put pressure in between the centre-back and the goalkeeper. This actually gives the goalkeeper the ball. Say the pass comes out to the right back. This is immediately a trigger for then the left mid, in this situation Nauf, to jump higher. And then it means that Marmoush has to come across. Ekitike will push up slightly. Goetze can be a bit more reserved on the right-hand side, or whoever the right mid is in this situation. Skiri will jump, or the left mid, whoever's playing in this position, will jump to block off the passes into the double pivot. They'll block off the central zones. And then Tuta will slightly push up. Not necessarily apply full pressure to the left centre midfielder, but he will step up a little bit, or whoever's playing in this role. And that's kind of how they press the ball. It's a pretty traditional pressing trigger. If the ball then goes back to the goalkeeper, you often see maybe Ekitike then curving his run in this fashion. Goetze jumps, Tuta jumps, so that this pass then can't happen. It's pretty traditional. It's nothing out of the ordinary, but they are doing it so well that they are winning the ball back pretty well. And that's how they're dominating the game in areas when they don't have much of the ball. But also in transition, they do have a pretty interesting tactics, and we'll take a look at that as well. Let's get rid of the opposition here. So, get rid of all of these guys. Go away and go away. Let's take it back to a 4-4-2, like so. In the first phase of transition, they do tend to push the fullbacks up pretty high. and it will look something more like this. But what I find really interesting is as they progress higher up the pitch, one of the central midfielders, in the game against Werder Bremen, it was Tuta that did this, they will drop deeper. They'll almost come to the point where they split the back two, they split the actual centre-backs to become the central of a back three, leaving the other midfielder on their own. And then this means that either Marmoush, Ekitike can go forward, and then one of two things can happen. Either the likes of Goetze will drop off alongside Skiri so that Collins can go forward, Nauf will invert into these positions, and Brown will get forward. So you're getting like this 3-2-5 shape that's very common these days. Or, say, I think in Werder Bremen it was actually Brown that inverted. Nauf stayed out wide. You can sometimes see Marmoush, who does sometimes play as a left winger in this position over here. Ekitike up there. Skiri comes across, and Brown would actually invert a little bit. And you end up with something looking a bit more like this. So it's very narrow in the middle of the pitch, but this is in the high phases of the game. This is when they're very attacking. They'll overload the attacking line, they will stretch the opposition's defence with a front five, and they'll have two midfielders sat pretty close to the attacking line to orchestrate these attacks and find them penetrative through balls into the likes of Marmoush and Ekitike. And it's been working for them. And they've got such pace in the wide areas and with the likes of Marmoush that they can attack channels with such speed, and that is where they're getting the goals from, and that's where Marmoush has managed to look so good. He can drop deep, he can play on the last line, he can attack the channels, he's quite often becoming a left winger as well. When they don't have the ball, he'll hug the left touch line, receive the ball in some space, and then just use his pace to go forward. And he's done it so well, and I think that versatility is what's making Marmoush look so good this season. So what I do really love about Marmoush is his ability to not only score goals but also drop deep and play in the link-up play as well. He's involved in the transition, and I really like how he does this. When you think of the likes of Haaland, Gyökeres, the real focal men up top, they are the players that stay up front, they will be the poachers, they don't normally get that many touches on the ball, and they just take their chances when they come. Marmoush is not that kind of striker. He likes to drop deep, he likes to get involved, he will carry the ball, he will happily receive it in deeper pockets as well. And we see this time and time again. And in fact, I've got some stats here. Only Harry Kane at the moment has more goal contributions in Europe top 5 leagues than Marmoush does, sitting on 18 goals and assists in 11 matches, which is ridiculous. But the main thing about that is it equates to 1.8 goals or assists per 90. That's almost 2 goal contributions per game, which is just mental. That is ridiculous. And on top of this, he's also 7th in Europe for shot creating actions with 61, and he's got the highest goal creating actions out of everyone in Europe this season. Just proving how absolutely ridiculous he is at creating chances for both himself and his teammates. But anyway, the main question is, how is Marmoush generating these shot creating actions, creating these goal creating actions? What is he doing that's getting him all these chances? So I've got a few highlights here, and we're going to unpick them a little bit, and we're going to start with his ability to drop in between the lines and get involved with the link-up play. And this is actually their 6th goal. Yes, I said that right. This is their 6th goal against Bochum, and I think this really epitomises what Marmoush does. So the first thing here, you can see Bochum's shape is a little bit dismantled. They're not exactly where they're meant to be. They are playing a back 5 in this system. I think it was meant to be a 5-3-2 or a 5-2-3. But as we can see, on this side of the pitch, there is so much space. And actually, I'll highlight even more so. This is Marmoush right here. He's saying hello in an Egyptian accent. There he is. You can see he's actually the left striker. And if we take a look at his heat map for this game, we can see that he was primarily the left striker. He was very attacking in this game, so why is he in this position? He should be over here. He should almost be attacking this channel here in between these two centre-backs. That's where the space is. He's the left striker. That's where you'd expect him to be. But no, he's dropped deep. Here he is down here, and the ball is over here. And we're going to see a lovely pass into his feet, like so. That was an awful arrow, but you understand what I mean. Pass comes in like this, and he receives the ball in the pocket. Well, it's not even a pocket. There's so much space. He's in the position where no midfielder's picking him up, but he's too far out from the defensive line for one of the centre-backs to step up. That's way too far for them to come out, because otherwise they'd leave too much space between their defensive structures. So, here we go. He receives the ball, he takes touch, and he turns. He's got options here, but he chooses to drive with the ball. He chooses to drive with the ball a little bit. Here we go. He's eventually made it coming towards the edge of the box, not quite, and he plays a lovely little 1-2 with Ekitike. When he gets to about this position, he plays a little ball into Ekitike, who plays it in behind the defender, and Marmoush picks it up and runs with it the other side of the midfielder. It's a lovely little 1-2 combination play, and he ends up in this position here. Here he is. He's got the ball here. What I really like about this is he started deep, and then he's pretty much dragged the entire opposition structure out of position, and he just holds the ball for an extra couple of seconds. He's sprinting forward with his progressive carries that we know he's so good at. He's sprinting forward, but instead of using that pace and momentum to keep bringing the ball forward, he actually just holds the ball up for a second. And you can see this player is stepping out. Number 6, I don't know their names, I'm afraid, is marking Marmoush. And this defender here is coming across to block Marmoush. And we've got this massive gap here that is now opened up, which I believe it's Uzun. Yeah, Uzun's here, who is making the run in behind. So we can see he's holding the ball up to drag the defenders out of their position to open up some space in behind for him to then play this pass, which Uzun can then run onto. And this is exactly what he does. Here we go. Here's Uzun in a wonderful position. What does he do? You know, not just tuck it away in the far corner, absolutely smashes it into that top left corner, and it's a really nice finish, and they go 6-2 up. It's not like they needed this goal, but it really epitomises what Marmoush is doing in this team. The dropping deep, a few combination plays, waiting for that channel to open up, and then playing that through ball for his teammate to finish it so nicely. Let's take another look at this, actually. And we see this pretty consistently with Marmoush. He's actually ranking at the moment in the top 5% for forwards in Europe's top 5 leagues for progressive carries per 90. He's receiving the ball deep, primarily on the left-hand side, to be fair, and carrying it forward. He's averaging just over 3 successful, or over 3.5 successful progressive carries per 90. Let's have a look at this game here. This is against RFS in the Europa League, and it's actually the only goal they scored in this game. Here we go. Here's Marmoush here. He's dropped in between the lines. He's in between the defensive line and the midfield line. So again, the same thing. Too far out for one of the centre-backs to step up and mark him, but also in a position where he's not fully marked by the midfielder. So he's in a little bit of space. The ball's over here, by the way, with the centre-back. Again, guess where it comes? Straight into Marmoush's feet. The centre-backs like to play these kind of passes. When they have the time with the ball, Marmoush will drop into a position where he can receive the ball in the attacking third and then do something with it. And that's a pass that the centre-backs consistently look out for. He takes the ball on the turn. We can see the midfielder's already been taken out of the game. This one here. He's now no longer able to get the ball. The ball's past him. Marmoush has taken it past him. So now it's on this defender to step out and do something. As we then go forward, we then see this run here from Larsson. Larsson's making this run in between the two midfielders, and as I said in the last clip, Marmoush holds onto the ball just for an extra second or two to wait for the defenders to almost hesitate, to maybe come out and make a rash decision. And that's what he does again here. Maybe not so much as in the Bochum game, but he sees this run and he plays a lovely splitting through ball in between the two defenders that Larsson gets on the end of in this position, and he plays a lovely little shot. It was a little bit fortunate, but nice shot into that far corner, and they go 1-0 up, and that was enough for them to win this game 1-0, win the 3 points in the Europa League. And again, it came from Marmoush's influence by dropping deep. He's getting involved in the link-up play, and it's beautiful to see. We don't see this kind of play much these days. For a long period of time we did. It's reminding me of Mateus Cunha, of Bobby Firmino. It's very Brazilian-esque, this kind of football. Almost like what Foden does when he plays as a false 9. It's that kind of vibe. And he's doing it as a striker who also plays striker and left wing. And that's why I just love to watch it. He's doing it in a 2-striker formation as well, which you don't tend to see. Normally you see this kind of play from the striker in a 4-3-3. He's doing it in a 4-4-2. That's something to note. That's a very interesting point. But what I also love about Marmoush is his ability to take touches into space. As we've just seen, sometimes he'll receive the ball and he'll take a very quick touch in between the midfield and the defensive line to try and find that progressive pass. He does this a lot, but I just really like his ability to recognise space and then just attack it. And that's something that not a lot of strikers actually possess these days. Sometimes they're too hesitant to make that kind of run. And Marmoush I think he has this instinctual belief that he will make it, and he just knows when to make the run. And I think his partnership with Ekitike is really important for this. When one of them pins the centre-backs back, or when one of them drops deep, it opens up the space in between the defensive players, And suddenly when that channel appears, whether it's Marmoush or Ekitike, they both have a relationship to know when one's dropping deep, there's going to be space for the other to just attack. And Marmoush splits the centre-backs all the time. He will see the space between either the fullback and the centre-back, or between the centre-backs, and he'll just run out of position because he has the freedom to do so, and because he has the ability to do so as well. And I'm going to take a look at a highlight from the Bayern Munich game. This finished 3-3, and this was the equalising goal to make it 1-1 in the 22nd minute. This is Marmoush down here. Here he is. He's in the left winger position where there's a load of space, and this is Guerreiro. He's the right back in this game, retreating. He does change position later on, and that's worth noting because we'll get to that. But at the moment, Marmoush has got all of this space to run into, and he will get there. But what's really important to notice is this is Ekitike here, and he's making a run towards the right winger position as Nauf is picking the ball up in a slightly deeper position. So this is the Nauf's playing on the right mid position. Ekitike is the right striker. Ekitike drifts wide and it drags the left centre back out with him. Kim Min-jae is getting drawn this direction, so it opens up this space for Chaibi to run into. And it also means then, because Upamecano is coming across to cover Chaibi, all this space opens up for Marmoush to run into. Now, as the play progresses, Nauf picks the ball up in this little space, and Guerreiro does retreat into a pretty decent position. Nauf has a very good knack of just carrying the ball forward. He's not necessarily a sensational creator or anything like that, but he just has, at least in this moment, a really nice moment of play where he just carries the ball enough to the point where Chaibi starts dropping this way a little bit, and it means because of that, Upamecano also follows him, and then you get a massive open gap here. Upamecano's now stepped out. Kim Min-jae has just been dragged out into the left back position almost, so he's now retreating. So you've got all of this space for Marmoush to make the run into, and that's exactly what he does. Now plays a lovely through ball. Marmoush gets on the right side of Guerreiro. He's right-footed, so he wants to have the ball where he can strike it with his right foot, and that's what he does. He gets into this position on the edge of the box. He beats Guerreiro for pace, and when they get to the edge of the box, Guerreiro almost does get there, but Marmoush takes a lovely shot. Nothing fancy, just a really nice low drilled shot into the far corner, and it's their equalising goal. Because the moment that space opened up, by Ekitike stretching the defence, dragging Kim Min-jae into the left back position, and then Chaibi picking up Upamecano, dropping slightly deeper so Upamecano follows him, so then you've got a massive gap pretty much between the right back and left back. For Marmoush sees it and just goes. And that's his instinctual ability. He knows that that's the space to attack, and Nauf has a good enough creative mind to find them kind of passes. And it's this ability to attack these spaces that I think does set him apart from some other strikers. Sometimes you'll see a striker in these situations, they will almost poach in the space instead. They will be caught offside. Marmoush doesn't do that. And in fact, his ability to take on defenders as well, to get into them situations, are just ridiculous. He currently sits in Europe's top 5% for successful take-ons. He averaged around 1.8 successful take-ons per 90. And as a team, Frankfurt sit 15th in Europe for their successful take-ons as well, which is also a ridiculous stat. So considering the team we're talking about here, because this is a team that don't dominate the possession, the fact that they're getting to these kind of standards in Europe's rankings really shows how effective they are when they have the ball. Right, another quality that all good strikers need to possess is clinicality in the box. Now, I'm not going to start saying this is Haaland-esque, this is Gyökeres-esque, this is Harry Kane-esque. It's not quite at that level, but he does still seem to have a knack for making the right shot type in the box for the right situation. He knows what foot to use. He knows how to create that, even the smallest of shooting angles, he knows how to create it. And this season especially, he started demonstrating this ability to a next level. And that's why I think his goal tally has just skyrocketed. Not only is he taking the chances, he's creating them chances for himself as well. I think it's something he must have worked on, because both feet, he just seems incredible. So I'm going back to that Bayern Munich game that we looked at earlier. This is still the 3-3 game, and this is in the 93rd minute. So it's the dying moments. Frankfurt are 2-3 down. They do equalise from this. There's a lofted ball into Marmoush here. Marmoush versus Kim Min-jae. Eric Dyer's now come on and is in the right centre-back position. Guerreiro's moved to the left-back position as well. And Kimmich is on the right. Or it might have been Lima. I can't remember. It was one of the two. The ball gets lofted into Marmoush here. And a little header battle between Kim Min-jae and Abimbe. I actually haven't got the photo. This is Abimbe here. He runs onto this ball and he knocks it into the path of Marmoush, who has seen, again, this space between Guerrero and Eric Dyer. And his ability to then carry the ball into the box. He gets into this position here. And from here, Neuer's actually not in the worst position ever. You could maybe expect to see a near post shot. What he does, though, is I would expect you in this situation to drill it low and hard into the far corner. He doesn't. He actually puts a lot of height on it and a lot of curl. He goes for this kind of shot and he finds that far post pretty well. He finds the side netting of the goal. Here it goes. Yeah, just up there into that far netting. He adds a lot of height on it, but Neuer's so focused on covering his near post, he's almost left too much space on the left side of the goal that Marmoush finds. And in this situation, he obviously knows just that instinctual finish to beat Neuer. This is the 93rd minute of the game. This is a dying moment to get an equalising point in a 3-3 draw against Bayern Munich. And he just adds so much power, curl and height on it, it's almost too risky of a shot for most strikers to take on. You put like Nicholas Jackson in this position from last season, you put Darwin Núñez in this position, I'm not convinced they score from this moment, or at least they wouldn't take this shot on because they wouldn't have the confidence, whereas Haaland I think would, Gyökeres I think would, and Marmoush is now showing that kind of finishing ability. And I thought this was a really crucial moment for Frankfurt as well, primarily in their season as well. I think this result kind of really gave them that belief. This is in the game against Gladbach, and in this game, they were 10 men down. Well, they were down to 10 men. Frankfurt went 1-0 up, quite luckily. Arthur Thiat was sent off. Gladbach equalised. On comes Omar Marmoush to try and rescue something for Frankfurt, and he does. He gets them the win despite being down to 10 men. This is Omar Marmoush over here. He's in the box, currently surrounded by many Mönchengladbach players. And he just becomes a bit of a handful for them. He starts making a few feint runs in the box, eventually ends up in this position, just over here, and the ball's over here on the right wing. And we're going to see the ball come into the box, and we end up in a position like this where you're thinking in this situation, there is no way Marmoush can take a shot here. He creates a shot for himself. So at the moment he's got the ball on his left foot, his body weight is as if he's shifting to his left and he's going to try and take a shot with his left foot. That's what you'd expect in this situation, right? Look at this. The ball looks like it's going to go this way. Take your guesses on where he goes. You might know, you might have seen it, but here we go. He shifts the ball back onto his right foot. This defender has now sent his body weight this way, and now he's realised that the ball's moved. He's now shifting his weight back this way. The defender is off balance. He's just confused the defender completely, shifting the ball onto his right foot. He then shifts it back onto his left foot, but as you can see, having done this, you can see this space here, which did not exist 2 photos ago. This shot was not on. Now it is. And actually he takes a further touch. This defender is now out of the game. He now can't do anything. The goalkeeper has left so much of the goal here for Marmoush to then smash it into the top corner, and that's exactly what he does. He does it beautifully again, and that's their goal. That's the winning goal for this game. They progress in their cup despite being down to 10 men, and that's thanks to Marmoush's ability in the box to shift his body weight, a few body feints, confuse a defender and find that shooting angle. It wasn't there originally. Shifts the ball onto his right foot, back onto his left, and suddenly that shooting angle is there, and he just blasts it in. Even though he's right-footed, blast it in with his left foot. And again, this is him showing his newfound ability to be so clinical in the box in these situations. In the tight spaces, he's doing really well. And I think that's what's, again, elevated his game to the next level. But of course, the thing that you've all seen him in the headlines for is his sensational set-piece ability. This is a striker that not only can take free kicks, he also takes their corners. How often do you see the striker taking the corners? You often want your striker in the box. No. And I think there's a routine that I've noticed among their goals. Here he is, Marmoush taking the corner on his right foot. They seem to aim the ball towards the near post. And we've seen it a fair few times. This is Ekitike here. This is Hugo Ekitike. He's going to make a run this way. And Marmoush plays the ball into that area. And here we go. Ball comes in. Here's Ekitike. He jumps up and he fires it home. And we saw a similar thing. This was against Stuttgart, by the way. We saw a similar thing in the game against Union Berlin, where they fired a cross into the near post after it was either Tiat or Tuta, I can't remember which one, got their head to the ball and fired just wide. So he's showing abilities to both play crosses from corners and also to take free kicks, which is obviously what you all know him for. That's what he made the headlines for. He had 3 sensational free kicks in 3 consecutive games, and he has this knack to find such a good shot with his right foot, but it's not, I don't want to say it's an unconventional free kick type. It's quite Ward-Prowse-esque. He gets a lot of height and whip and dip on it, but he doesn't necessarily find the top left corner, like every time, or the top right corner. He just finds a position which is out of the goalkeeper's reach, a position towards the side netting where even if it's mid-height of the goal, it's too far away from the goalkeeper to be able to reach, but because there's so much whip on it, that it still goes in. And I think that that's something that not a lot of strikers at the moment, again, how many strikers take free kicks at the moment? Whereas Marmoush has an insane set piece ability. He's not scored a free kick since, but take nothing away from it, he has just looked sensational. And every free kick that he took was ridiculous. But there we have it. I know this has been a long video. I know that many of you probably don't actually care about all the little techniques that I've mentioned, but I feel like it's these small intricacies that have taken Marmoush to the next level and which has made him a name that every team should be looking at right now. And I genuinely think he's still got the ability to get better as well. Shot power is something I think he could work on. I think his prowess in the box is still very good, but I do think it's something he could still work on a bit as well. And it's one of them things where with time, I'm surrounded by better players than what Frankfurt have. I could see him going to the next level. And I do think there's every right that every team in the Premier League should be looking at him. I think he'd cost around 30 to 50 million, probably more like 40 to 50 million in the current market. I don't think that's an unreasonable fee to be paying for a striker these days. And I actually think that most Premier League clubs these days will have that kind of budget to spend on a striker when they know that he's going to score goals. He was linked to Nottingham Forest in the summer. He didn't make the move. He's now been linked to the likes of Liverpool, Manchester City, Arsenal, and I actually think they all would benefit from him. The likes of Manchester City, since they lost Julian Alvarez, they've lost that kind of similar sort of player to Marmoush, where you don't get that attacking threat from slightly behind Erling Haaland. Foden's not getting that kind of goal-scoring tally that he has before. They're lacking the threat in the wide areas. Doku and Savinho aren't necessarily at the best that we've ever seen them. I think Marmoush would add something. I think he'd fill that gap that was left by Julian Alvarez. I also think Liverpool would benefit from him. I don't think he's the same as Jota and Darwin Núñez. I think he'd add something different. And he'd be a handful because of his movement. And also they're looking for a replacement for Mohamed Salah eventually. I do think this guy could be the guy. Obviously he's more of a left wing, Salah's more of a right wing, but I just think he's got similar qualities. You look at the likes of Chelsea, they're probably in the market for another striker. Arsenal need a clinical striker. Newcastle, Brighton, West Ham, all them kind of teams need someone like Marmoush. The only team that I could consider that probably don't need him is Aston Villa, and that's because I think him and Watkins share so many similarities in their type of finishing, their tendency to drift into the left wing position, and their ability to attack the spaces between centre backs. I think only Ollie Watkins is this sort of player where Aston Villa wouldn't need another one like him. Every other team, and even then, I still think he'd improve their team. I think every other team in the Premier League would benefit from Omar Marmoush in their squad. And I'm almost waiting for it to happen. And I hope it does happen, because I would love that. I would love that. Primarily Chelsea, of course. Let me know, where do you think he will go? I think he's probably going to make a move in either January or the summer. Which team do you think he will end up at? Put your predictions down below. Let me know which team is going to buy him next. Probably a Premier League team, right? Surely. But yeah, let me know, and thank you guys for watching. I know I've not uploaded recently, but trying to get back into it. Spent a lot of time watching this guy, really been blown away. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you all very soon. Make sure you leave a like down below and hit that subscribe button, but until next time, I'll see you all very soon. Thanks for watching.